Welcome everyone to Breakthrough Leadership. I'm Matt DeYoung.
And I'm Greg Yates. We're here to help you unlock your purpose, live with passion, and become the leader you were created to be.
Yeah, and thanks for joining us here in episode 16 of our video blog. And today we're going to talk about something that is very exciting, I think, and it's called the missional language of why. So Greg, just to kind of tee this up a little bit, I think that many people can identify with the idea that you create a mission statement, hopefully it says what you do and why you do it, but too often we find ourselves trapped in doing the what and forgetting about even why we started on this journey.
Yeah.
Do you have a good example
That's
of that?
fantastic. Well, you know me, Matt. I love these, crazy backwards ways of talking about things that create, a specific idea in people's minds. It's just kind of the way I think. People have made fun of me about stuff like that,
no.
Matt. I mean, but even in the middle of that, I knew that the opportunities for my team to joke and laugh and have fun about some of these topics or some of these little key phrases that I would just make up, it gave us the ability to synchronize not only the language, but right in the middle of the language we were using was the why, the purpose of what we were doing and why we were doing it. One little short thing that comes to my mind, just an example, really, is that anybody who knows me knows what I say when I say something's on the roof. The job, the customer. I can be in a meeting and just say, well, I think this idea is on the roof. And everybody who knows me knows that I mean the idea is dead. Now, there's a reason for that, because I tell the story about a guy who broke the news to his friend that his friend's cat had died. But he didn't want to just tell him, hey, your cat died. So he starts out by telling him the whole story. He tells him the whole story and he says, hey, your cat got on the roof. And of course, it progressively ends to the cat's death. Yeah, I know. It's crazy, right? It's just crazy, makes people laugh. But everybody who knows me remembers the story, or they know what I mean when I say something's on the roof. That's just an example of how we create silly language sometimes in order to create iconic viewpoints that our team can be on the same page about. And then when we ask questions that require responses that use this language, we end up being able to tie together these two inseparable elements of a specific language that we're using, but also tying it to our missional why, W-H-Y.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes me think just the power of story and just the power of words. We're talking about mission and we're talking about language, and joining those two things together to where you could say a phrase like, it's on the roof, and everybody knows what's going to come next. But we're talking about why today, how it's so important to know exactly why you do what it is that you do. And in a separate video, you can go watch on our YouTube channel where we talked about filtering everything you do, even how you track it and measure it through your mission. But Greg, if you wanted today, if anyone watching this today wanted to know the why of their mission and stay on point with that, we have 3 questions they could ask themselves. And the first one that we're going to give you is, so question number 1 is why understood by everyone on your team?
Yeah, it's so critical that people pull even emotionally into the understanding these key phrases. I personally am a big proponent of these phrases being unique to the team. We talk in another video about how you can all be speaking English and still not be speaking the same language. It's I love that concept. But the reality is, if people don't understand your why through the specific chosen language that your team uses, then the why becomes mystical. It becomes something that we understand more about the how or the techniques or the SOPs than we do about the why. And so it's critical that we're asking, wait a minute, is this why understood?
Yeah, that's awesome. So question number 1 is why understood. And the second question is, does your why evoke more than the words themselves? This is a lot like the story that you mentioned. Is it on the roof? It's packed full of information.
Yeah.
So what would you say about this?
Well, I mean, just talk to any football player about getting his bell rung.
Yeah.
What do you mean, getting your bell rung? If you've been there, right? Talk to a Cubs fan about flying the W. I mean, it creates an immediate response, right? Why? Because this idea, those few words evoke literally an emotional response. They evoke a common experience right in the middle of it. They have to invoke more than just the words themselves.
Yeah, getting your bell rung if you've been hit pretty hard, and you probably feel it when you say that, but it's powerful. You got to use that as a leadership concept, right?
Absolutely.
And so the third question is, does your why bring a convergence of unity and emotions? Again, it's one of those things sounds soft, but it's very tactical, isn't it?
This is, I wish people could understand the power of generating an emotional response within the language that's being used, connecting the emotion and the words and the experience that we're all sharing. I mean, one of the things that comes to my mind is just watch an Olympic athlete when they're on the podium and they start playing the national anthem. I mean, there's more there than can be expressed. We don't feel it when another national anthem's being played, right? We feel it when those notes begin, and that athlete feels it. Why? Because they've experienced, they've suffered through, they understand the unity, the purpose, the what do you want to call it? Just the attraction to that is so emotional, and it's a convergence of unity. We're a part of a team, we're a part of a nation even, and emotion for all that it means to us. And I just think if we don't do that, if they're just words that we're learning definitions to and writing down and memorizing, they're never going to have the power that they'll have unless they bring a convergence of unity and of emotional response and understanding what that language is all about.
Yeah, so if this is at all, these three questions, if they've at all felt abstract or just not concrete, I think you gave a great anchor, which is remembering when you have the gold medalist. We just passed the Summer Olympics as of this recording, and they're strong and they're mighty and they're high performance athletes until they get on that podium and the national anthem goes and the strongest start crying because they remember why they were doing what they were doing for the last so many years. So Greg, just in closing today, if there's leaders watching this video saying, I really do want to use language to connect the why of our mission so that we know exactly why we're doing what we do, what's the challenge that you give?
I would challenge you to be absolutely intentional about using these three questions to create language that your team will repeat back to you and really understand the meaning of your why through the missional language you're using. Use these questions. That's my challenge.
That's awesome. And so a mark of success is when your team repeats it. And what I'd like to ask you to do now, we've kicked off a good conversation about this. We'd like you to join in the conversation here on this YouTube channel by commenting below. Let us know where you plan to repeat the missional language of why. What's the setting that you plan to use and do better at? That would be a great way to comment and give us feedback.
Yeah, and of course, a lot of our dialogue happens, Matt, on our website, morethanbreakthrough.com. I hope you'll come over and join in on the conversation there as well.
That'd be great. And while you're there at morethanbreakthrough.com, if you're not already on our email list, I encourage you to subscribe because Greg and I will be able to give you for free leadership resources you can't get anywhere.
You can do this. I mean, these are the simple steps that are going to take you as a leader to breakthrough.